Nice. We did it.
Woohoo! We did the technology.
Technology, right? Thank goodness
Certainly.
for Calvin helping to walk us through all of that.
Yeah, no
Ah,
problem.
well,
Welcome.
welcome to everybody who is here live, to everybody watching the
Hmm.
replays. We have such a fantastic conversation ahead of us today. We are here with parenting and relationship expert Rachel Rainbolt, who is going to be talking to us about parenting as a path to better relationships. So let's dive right in. Can you share a little bit about what that means? Why, how is parenting a path to better partnerships?
And a little bit about yourself too, if you want to throw that in.
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, hi. So I'm Rachel. I am the mom behind Sage Family. I have 3 kids who are teenagers now, and I've been doing this for approximately 1 million years, which is super fun. Love
Right?
it.
That sounds right.
um,
Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds I mean, do I look that old? Okay, so why this is important? What does parenting have to do with relationships? I think when we choose to co-parent with someone, like we are weaving these strands together in a way that is inextricable. Like there's no way to silo them.
Mm.
So I think that is like a thing that when couples first have children, that tends to be the strategy is to try and preserve what was like this like siloed separate relationship, and then the
Yeah.
parenting, and then they learn pretty quickly like that's just not possible to do. So just
Hmm.
acknowledging that these things are all woven together, I think, is an important place to start. And then parenting extends just brutally and beautifully and persistently these all the invitations that we need for our own healing and growth, right?
Yeah.
Like it is unavoidable. It is this
Hmm.
perfectly evolved system in the sense that we cannot hide any of our unhealed or stunted development parts of ourselves. Our through this parenting journey, we are just persistently extended those invitations. And that is super impactful to the couple relationship because they show us the things that we need to work on. So if every
Yeah.
time those invitations show up, we receive them and accept them and do the work that we're invited to do
Mm.
around, the relationship then benefits from that work. And then even the direct parts of our parenting, I will often talk about how parenting is not actually parenting, it's just human connection. So
Mm.
even when we're just
Yeah.
learning like the skills and strategies and tools and techniques and postures and in all of that of like having a really healthy, respectful, nurturing, supportive parent-child relationship, it's the exact same stuff that you're doing with your partner or your
Hmm.
neighbor. Like really, it's just about how do you be in connection with another human in
Hmm.
a peaceful and respectful way.
Hmm.
Seriously.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that we notice when we're working with couples who have kids, right, is that sometimes the kids are almost an easier motivation to do that personal growth work.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yes.
Especially, so I tend to get if we're working with a heterosexual couple,
Hmm.
um, the male figure
Hmm.
in the conversation is the one who, like, that is their primary reason why.
Hmm. Like it's
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's
easier to be
easier for them to
softer.
connect
And
to like the child experience and like find motivation in like the parenting aspect of their relationship versus
Oh yeah.
their like role as husband.
hmm.
Oh, friends, 100% of my clients come to me because they
Yeah.
need to fix their child's behavior. And then, like a couple sessions in, we're like, yeah, let's unpack that trauma. Like, let's talk about
Yes.
how that's showing up in your attachment. Like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
when we then do that healing work for ourselves, the behavior challenges with the child resolve themselves.
Totally.
Like it's amazing how that happens because really we're being triggered by a particular behavior in our children because there's some
Hmm.
invitation that we're being given to work on something in ourselves about
Else.
how we're being triggered by it. Why is this so hard for us to hold space for? How can we show up differently? What are the
Hmm.
expectations that are off here? What am I trying to control to avoid the feelings that are showing up for me when my child does this? Like, there's
It's
so much
just like our
juicy
work
good
with
stuff.
couples.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much juiciness that yeah, and you're absolutely right. I love the way that you talked about like parenting being this, I forget exactly how you said it, but just like this persistent, perfect, beautiful, constant invitation
Yeah.
to do that. And I was just reflecting the other day, I did a post about it, like even more than my relationship with Cal, which has challenged the shit out of me. Like my kids and trying to show up as a parent and be who I want to be for them. Like the stuff that comes up within me that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah, they're tiny mirrors. Just
Yes, because it's so pure. Like they receive
Yeah.
what we put out without any other baggage and without the capacity to sort of fake things, you know?
Mhm.
Like if I love Cal so much and he's doing something that's triggering me, but I can like harness my capacity to be the person he needs in that moment to like circumvent, you know, his triggering around that. Like kids can't do all that, you know? So if we're
Mhm.
doing something that is, you know, if we're being an asshole,
Yeah.
they're gonna reflect that back to us.
Yes.
yep.
Don't have the capacity to do anything else.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that, Rachel, because you're so right. You know, in our partnerships, we want our partner to have the capacity to do that, right? To be
Yeah.
the like soft, sturdy, solid person when we're having our temper tantrums, so to
Yep.
speak, right? When the unhealed kid parts of us show up. But the truth is like the more like when we're parenting, we can't ask that of our kids. So
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of forces us, positions us to have to
Find another way.
find another way, right? Like do
Yes.
that work ourselves. And then
Yes.
when you can do that work yourself, you don't need your partner to do it for you. Then when you feel like you want to be having a temper tantrum and you want your partner to just like fix it and be your parent, you don't have to ask that because our partners aren't supposed to be our parents. They're supposed to be our
No.
partner. And so we get to reparent ourselves. And our kids
Yes.
get to teach us how to do that.
Yes, your partner gets to be like the icing on the cake. Like they're the sweet stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like sometimes
Yeah.
they're sour,
Ideally.
sometimes they're sweet, but like the cake is for you. Like that's your work. You got to bake it, you know? Like so I
Mhm.
think that that sense of like a really great lesson that we learn from parenting is that like where are the spheres of ownership, you know? Like I
Mm.
own this. Like this is what I own.
Yep.
I have no control over the other people. Like I
Mhm.
can't project my needs onto them and try and change them so it's easier for me to tolerate the feelings and thoughts that show up for me. Like
Right.
so that work of like what is getting super crystal clear on what do I own? What does my child own? What does my partner own? You know, none of these people are extensions of me. Like everybody is their
Mhm.
own sovereign being with their own given spirit and their
Yep.
own DNA, beautiful chemistry mashup, right? My job is
Mhm.
to turn any of these people into who I need them to be to feel good about myself. Like that's my job. I control this part. This is me, right? This is mine. My job is just to unconditionally love all of these other people, accept them
Mhm.
radically for exactly who they are, and then navigate as peacefully and respectfully as possible how we get to coexist together. That's true for
Mhm.
children, that's true for partners. And for so many families, it's too hard to access this for ourselves. It's too hard to access this in our partnership. So we come to it in our relationship with our kids. I will say, too,
Mhm.
it is extra helpful for learning and it is extra rewarding to start in your relationship with your kids because
Mm.
it gets reflected back to you immediately.
So
Like they're
fast.
right away. Like if you show up differently when your child has a big feeling, like if you choose to regulate your nervous system and breathe through it and just sit there and say, tell me everything. I want to hear all about what feeling is showing up for you right now. And we can just
Mhm.
see that and not be afraid of it and not try to
Mhm.
change it instantly. It's game changing across the board. Whereas with adults, like there's tends to be a bit of a delay, like there's more baggage piled on top of stuff to get out from it. With kids, it's instant. So when we change how we show up in those really small ways, we get that feedback right away, which is so rewarding. And then it helps us to fine tune it, make little adjustments along the way, and then we can start really integrating that into who we are and how we show up in all our relationships.
Yes.
Totally. I love that.
I find myself thinking about, like, as you say, integrating who we are and how we show up in all of our relationships, right? Like, I find myself thinking about also the relationship that we have with ourselves.
Totally.
And like the way that we respond to our own feelings. Because we, in our work with couples, we talk a lot about the parts that show up, right? And sometimes the parts that we're in relationship with, sometimes who we're in relationship with is part of ourselves.
Yes.
Right. So can you speak a little bit to that and how that shows up in your work?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We tend to be really mean to ourselves. And when we start showing up for our children with compassion and start being non-judgmentally curious about what need they have and accepting whatever need shows up, and then collaboratively finding ways to meet it. Like when we start doing that with our kids, we get to then start extending that to ourselves, because we just have one formula for compassion. Like there's just one way that we are with compassion, and we're that way with everything, with everyone. So if when a feeling shows up, we become afraid of it and we try and we engage in behaviors to avoid it or to fight it. We do that with our kids, we do that with our partners, we do that with our coworkers. Like that is the formula we have. If our children give us the opportunity to, there's a feeling showing up, I'm feeling this wave and I want to run from it. Instead, I'm going to take some deep breaths and I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm going to see it. I'm going to open up and make the space to just accept it. I'm going to let this wave like crest over us together. And I'm just going to be the lighthouse. I'm just going to be the lighthouse. It can't carry me away. My child can see my light shining. And when you do that, even just one time, your nervous system, your protector, that part of yourself goes, oh, we didn't die. Oh my God, like I can trust that she's got this now. Like, whoa, okay. Like, try it again,
Yep.
and then we'll look for another. And then we say, oh, this is great. This is the opportunity to practice again. And we do it again. And then your protector, again, like every layer that you put on top of it, your protector trusts you more and more that you've got it. More space opens up. It gets easier, becomes more natural every time you get to practice.
Absolutely.
That is such a important point that I just want to reiterate for everybody. Like every time you get the opportunity to practice, it teaches your nervous system that you're not going to die, and it gets progressively easier.
Yeah.
Because I think you're like there's like two pieces that you're saying here. One is like being a parent gives us constant opportunities to practice.
Yes.
And the other part is that like we may have resistance to practicing.
Right.
We might want to avoid it. We might have frustration or defensiveness or whatever. And like it's not, we talk with couples all the time about how hard it is to choose to respond differently and in a non like protective, inner protective fashion. And that happens in our internal worlds, it happens in our partnerships, and it happens with our kids. But like if you can make that paradigm shift to like, this is an opportunity for me to practice, and it might feel hard and scary now, but every time I do it, it's going to get easier.
Yeah.
And then lean into the courage that it takes, the like internal strength that it takes to be that lighthouse and have those waves crashing on you and not like break or fall apart, and know you're going to survive. Just keep shining your light. Like that builds such confidence, such resilience, and such a powerful place from which we can love, just love. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Like one of the things that comes up for me when I'm listening to you talk about that is how I will often invite people to lower the bar for success. You know, someone will watch like a video of me interacting with a child and say, okay, I want to be able to do that. Like, what do I do now? And then tomorrow, you know, I'll show up that way. Like, no, it's like 100 small steps, like between here and there. And that's actually really awesome, because like, if your goal is that you don't want to yell at your children anymore. Well, what I would invite you to do is to say, okay, you're just going to not yell at your kid once every day this week.
Yep,
So the very first time when you feel a yell about to come out of your body, I'm going to give you all these tools in this plan, and you're going to respond in this different way. And then every time after that, you yell like you normally would. Just one time, we're going to do it differently. You're not allowed to do it any more than that one time. Just the one time. You know, and then like once they get like a few repetitions of that, okay, now we're going to do it 2 times. And then like it falls like dominoes really quickly. But if you start with like a small step, like take a small bite, suddenly it's manageable. It doesn't trigger your protector as much, because your protector is like, oh, it's just one time. Fine. Like, I'll sit down and shut up one time, but I don't trust you yet. You got to prove that you can do it. I love
that.
Yeah.
Yes, I am going to pull that into our work 100%. That's so right. Yeah. You know, like those, that like lowered bar, because we do set the bar so high, and it feels so like such a big task. Like, how do I be nice? How do I not yell? How do I not get defensive? Right? How do I not like roll my eyes at my child when they're doing this and being drama, or like, you know, fake crying? And it's like, okay, if I could do it once, like my internal parts that like have my own feelings about stuff, and like I'm just thinking about it, my parts are like, yeah, I could totally do once.
Yes. And it's just an experiment. Like, I love to bring that mindset to it. Like, it's just an experiment. Like, that tends to immediately disarm the protector. If we say, oh, this isn't the new way, like, we're not even saying this is going to work, it probably won't work at all. Like, that's totally like, yeah, this is all so stupid. So we're just going to like do an experiment. Like, it's just an experiment, and you're just going to try it. And then you're just going to notice what thoughts show up, what feelings show up, what shows up with your kid or with your partner, right? Like, how do they respond differently to it? And we're just going to be little scientists, and we're going to like journal like what things are different when we show up this way. And then you come back here, and if it just made everything worse, tell me, let me know. Like, absolutely, of course that never happens, but
yes,
I'm open to it. Someday it could. Like, this is just an experiment. We're just trying it. So that really, anxiety is so connected to perfectionism. So anything that we can do to like bring some playfulness to it, like bring that experimental mindset to it, lower that bar for success. Like, sometimes we have to slow down to speed up. Like, this is not a race. You don't only have one day to become the person you want to be. This is you have your whole life to evolve into the best version of yourself. So like, let's breathe. Let's slow it all down and let's take it one step at a time. And it really is remarkable though, like how fast the dominoes fall. Yes. Once you get that foothold, once you start making those strides, your protector
build the
will
momentum.
start trusting you. Your inner child will feel safe. And so we can start parenting your inner child along with your actual children outside of your body. And your protector can become your friend. Like, so many people, your protector is villainized, right? Like, well, I keep getting defensive, or I'm, all of the things that all those strategies your protector has used to keep you safe for your whole childhood and your whole life. Like, she's just trying to help. He's just trying to do you a solid. He's trying to keep you alive. Like, there's some, like, let's have some compassion. Like, the harder things are for you, it's like the harder your protector is working. Like, she's working really hard. So continuing to villainize her and avoid her and fight against her just continues to put you at odds, just like it does with your children, just like it does with your partner, right? So if instead we can come alongside our protector, come alongside our warrior, and say, wow, like, God, thank you so much for working so hard for me. Like, I
Right.
really see all these ways that you are showing up for me here. And I just want to be grateful. Like, I know you're trying to protect that inner child in there. And that's been a big job. Like, so
Mhm.
thank you for that. Now, in this moment, like you're trying to signal me something. Tell me everything. Tell me
Mhm.
everything. Just like we were talking about with the kid, right? Where I'm going to sit down with you for 5 minutes here and I want to hear everything. What are you scared of? Tell me.
Yeah.
What should I know that I might not have noticed? What do you see that you're afraid I didn't see? You know, like
Mhm.
when we can become a friend to our protector, like then
Yeah.
she moves into the passenger seat. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, like you've heard me, just like a dysregulated child, right? They just needed to
Mhm.
hear, okay, you've heard me. Now I can
Mhm.
sit down and you can drive the car.
Mhm.
I trust you. You've got this.
Yes. Yeah. That's so much of the work of all of our relationships, right? Is like keeping our core self, our wise mind, our higher consciousness, right? However you want to talk about it, like in the driver's seat. So we can make conscious choices, aware choices about who we are and how we're showing up, how we're responding instead of reacting. So it's not like our protector parts or our warrior parts, our shut down parts, our broken, like traumatized parts that are running the show.
Yeah.
And they step up, as you're saying, like, yes, to protect us,
Mhm.
to keep us safe in some ways. And the more that we can like engage with our internal world and whatever parts are showing up in a way that is like the lighthouse, we're shining that light internally.
Yeah.
The more trust we build, the more that they settle, and the easier it is for us to stay in that powerful state, that place of consciousness, no matter what's happening around us. And that gives us so much more ability, right? To engage in our relationships in loving and respectful and effective ways that are more likely to get the results that we want from that relationship. And I love that you're pointing out too, like it's especially fun to do this work when you're in the role of parent because you get those results so fast.
Yes.
Your kid is going to like reflect back to you like, oh, that feels better immediately.
Yes. Yeah. The difference is night and day. I mean, if your child
Mhm.
starts to become dysregulated, your inner child and your protector are like, oh, we're not safe. You know, there's yelling. And then you become dysregulated. And then their nervous system picks up on that and becomes like it's hours, it's days sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Of like you're just bumping up against each other, re-triggering. And if instead, like we just show up differently one time, like there have been moments in the grocery store aisle where I just sat down right in the middle of the aisle beside my child and said, we have all the time in the world. Tell me everything. I'll be right here listening, you know? And they just felt their feelings. And in like 2 minutes, they're good. And you know, are you ready to move forward together? Awesome. Would you like to be the one to push the cart this time? And we move forward, right? They're fine. Whereas
Mhm.
if I'm resistant to it, then we're not going to get to the checkout.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just amplifies. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. That word is so important, resistance, right? Like the resistance that we have to whatever's coming up within us, within our kids, within our partners. Like we don't like it, it's inconvenient. You're in a grocery store, you're just trying to get home, right? Like we protest what is. And what I hear you saying so powerfully, Rachel, is that when you can like let go of that resistance and just make space, it moves through us so much more quickly and allows for a building of trust and safety within the relationship, whatever relationship it is, within ourselves, our partner, our kid. And that then creates the momentum, the domino effect, where it just gets easier and easier and you don't even have those types of reactions anymore. That's the healing journey.
Absolutely. Like resistance and
Yeah.
acceptance. Like those are like the two sides, you know, the two opposites that I'm
Mhm.
always sort of staying connected to and having an awareness of, like within me, like,
Mhm.
where am I on that spectrum with this issue? And for parents, a lot of resistance can show up whenever our kids behave in a way that we would not choose to behave in that moment, or basically when there's perceived judgment, you know, or as your kids get older, like if they are playing out a value that is not a value of your, like we, again, going back to that, like they are their own sovereign beings. Like where is that distinction between where they end and where I begin? And as someone like who was an attachment parent and a gentle parenting, like we are high connection, like so high connection. And we are not the same person. My kid can have different thoughts and feelings and beliefs and behaviors and experiences, and that is theirs to have. Like that is not something that I get to control. Again, they are who they are. Same with my partner. Like I can change how I want to eat. I can be a minimalist. My partner can be a maximalist, right? Like that's okay. We are two sovereign beings. The work is not to make the people in your life be how you want to be. Your work is to accept them as they are and love them unconditionally.
Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, what a powerful and beautiful way to like kind of wrap this up. So a couple questions before we officially wrap up the conversation. Can you just speak briefly to, you know, like what you see happen in families when parents get really good at this personal growth journey?
Ease. I would say like so many of the problems, problems that we experience in a family are problems of our own creation, which sounds kind of rude to say. But who our children, who the actual people are is not the problem. Like there's a place in this world for everyone. We can always shift the context around the needs that someone has. And this is coming from someone who has lots of neurodivergent family members and gender divergent family members at what all the things, right? All the things. There is nothing wrong with any of my people. Any of the struggles that we have had have been an invitation for my own growth, right? Like have been an invitation to get clearer on what the true needs are at play, to get more collaborative in our approach to how we meet, how we get to that overlap in the Venn diagram of needs. Like essentially that's like the practical work that it comes down to. But the problems are really not inherent to the people. And I think that's really important for everyone to hear, because if we believe that my life is so hard because my kid is autistic, or because my kid feels things deeply, or because my partner is ADHD, or whatever it is, like, then there's no hope, right? Like, and that's just not true. Like, that's absolutely not true. Like, the problems are kind of our own creation, and that's fantastic news because we can change those. We can do things.
Yeah, that is where we have power.
Yes.
It's the only place you have power.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. Do you have like a brief story or case example or anything that might also help illustrate this paradigm shift for people?
Yeah, I think like one client comes to mind. She came for help with, you know, my daughter is having some really big tantrums. Nothing I'm doing seems to be helping. Like, how do I fix it? Like, what's wrong with her? What can I do differently? And that's a really common, you know, like I mentioned earlier, people always come to me because they're struggling with the behavior with their kid. And I just worked with this client for 1 month. And so in 4 coaching sessions, like by the end, like we just shifted her relationship with her anxiety, which is your protector, right? Like it's so funny how quickly we can go from like this external behavioral, the problem belongs to this other person, into like, oh, here's where all of my power is. Like here, right? Here's where all of my power is. What is all the work to be done here? And doing all of, you know, we can actually do all of that work and make all those changes. And then you come back in, you show up differently, having done that work. And again, like people are so much closer to the version of themselves that they want to grow into than they realize. Like if there is one message I would want everyone to hear, it is that the life we want to live and the person we want to be feels so far away because these challenges feel so big. But actually, if you only change the things that are within your control to change, and you take small steps consistently, in 1 month's time, like you can be well on your way. Like you can be over that gigantic hurdle that feels impossible to get to. Like I really hope that people soak that in and savor it, whether they're working with
Yeah.
you or working with me or working with whoever else or even working with no one, like doing this on the whatever. Just know that you're so much closer. Like the shifts that you need to make, it's not that many. Like you just make a few shifts and it can change absolutely everything.
Yes. Bravo.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it
Snaps to
better
that.
ourselves. So beautiful.
Truth bomb.
Oh, so real. Rachel, this has been amazing. Like, what a powerful, transformational conversation. There's like so many gold nuggets in this like one little conversation. I recommend anybody watching to ask for the replay so you can just like re-listen to Rachel talk about this over and over again until you like really get what she's saying, because just understanding these like
Concepts.
points, these
Yeah.
messages that you're sharing, Rachel, like is transformational. And not only is it so good for like our kids, but we understand, and I'm sure you understand this too, that like when we change how we do relationships, it leaves a legacy, right? This is like
Absolutely.
intergenerational change. Our kids learn how to love themselves better, learn how to be in relationship with other people better. Their kids do. I mean, we change the world. And that's like the cherry on top of having a dramatically more fulfilling and easy life ourselves.
Yes.
So
Parenting journey.
yes. So if people are interested in getting more information about you or working with you, what do you got? How can they connect with you?
Yes, sagefamily.com is my website. If you live in Washington, I can be your therapist. Unfortunately, I can't if you live elsewhere. And if you live outside of Washington, we can do coaching. But on my website, I have all my good stuff. So I have a podcast, the Sage Family Podcast, coaching, therapy. I have courses on there. I have the Sage Family Village, which is an online membership community, books, blog posts, all the things. So just go to sagefamily.com and choose your path.
Excellent.
Amazing.
Okay, so that's sage as in SAGE, like the herb.
Yes.
And then family altogether.com.
Yes.
Got it. I want to make sure everybody is clear on that one.
We can put in the comments too later.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Rachel, for sharing your wisdom and your time with all of us.
Yes, thank you. It's been so enlightening.
And
thank you for having me. Sincerely.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. More people need to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah. How to be powerful parents.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Yes. Can we get it to do the heart thing?
I don't know. Maybe not on research. Oh, it did. Yeah. For both of us. Look at that. Magic. All right. Well, until next time.
Yeah.
We'll catch you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.